everybody. I'm Terry Windsor, and welcome to Check This Out. Not too long ago, a Montana gun shop was raided by 20 fully armed IRS agents. One of the main things they took, though, had no financial information on it. So, what were they looking for? Well, I think I know. So, let me show you. Okay, so we're going to go through the story with a couple of articles to give you a really good picture of what happened here. This man's name is Tom Van Hoos, and he's the owner of Highwood Creek Outfitters in Montana, Great Falls, actually. He says, at 7:30, I came in and they pulled in behind me with 20 heavily armed agents. Van Hoos says for 2 years, his Highwood Creek Outfitters Gunshop has been the subject of surveillance by state and federal agencies, including the FBI, OSHA, Department of Homeland Security, State of Montana, and now the IRS. He goes on to say, I can only assume it's because of the style of weapons that we have and the press that's so against them. The current administration seems to be hell-bent on getting those guns out of the hands of average Americans. And he is referring to AK-47s and AR-15s, which are banned in 10 states, including mine of Illinois, which they would like to ban us from everything. So don't move here. He goes on to say that he has a good relationship with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, who was already present. Now, they did not initiate the warrant. I want to make sure that that's very well known. Only the IRS did. And then he says, we have a reputation of dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's because there's so much legal fun to be had, because he refers to these as fun guns. It's just not worth doing things that are going to get you into trouble, he says. Now, this is what was said by a former police officer and also Florida State Director of Gun Owners of America. His name is Luis Valdez. He said that pointed out that the raid seemed to be a calculated move. This raid was clearly a show of force meant to send a message to gun owners and those who oppose the tyrannical anti-gun agenda of this administration. He added that the raid scope suggested potentially sinister motives behind the form seizures. Valdez warned, people need to understand this administration intends to go after you if you oppose their agenda and demand their elected representatives push back. Congressman Matt Rosendale wrote this letter to the ATF. Under Director Dettelbach's leadership of the ATF, a pattern of intimidation and harassment against hardworking Americans has emerged. Montanans, I guess, will not tolerate these political witch hunts. I remind both Director Delbach and Commissioner Werfel that Congress has the power of the purse, and I will ensure that funding of these agencies is not weaponized against the American people. The Commissioner Werfel is the IRS. Now, this part surprised me quite a bit. Both of Montana's U.S. senators want answers after Highwood Creek Outfitters in Great Falls was raided by armed federal agents on June 14th. U.S. Senator John Tester, Democrat, sent a letter to the Internal Revenue Service and Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives asking for answers about the investigation at the gun shop. Tester emphasized that more transparency around the incident is needed to ensure a Montana small business is treated fairly. He also said that there are concerns about the lack of notice and information sharing with local law enforcement ahead of the search. You know, this has to be pretty bad to piss off a Democrat who most of them are anti-gun. They don't want us to have anything to protect ourselves either. So this is really great that we have a couple of Democrats here and there that stand up for the rights of people, and especially for this gun owner, the owner of this gun shop, who apparently has a good reputation. Rapport with the ATF, and the FBI didn't find any reason to go after him either after investigating them for 2 years or surveilling them for 2 years. So now we're going to go on to what they took that was not on the warrant and has no financial information. And that is this: the firearms transaction record, also known as Form 4473. If you've ever purchased a firearm in the United States, from a gun shop, doing it legally, of course, this is the form that you would have filled out. And this is what's on it: manufacturer and importer, model, serial number, type, caliber or gauge, Total number of firearms to be transferred. If this is part of a pawn transaction, then they want, of course, the buyer's full name, current address, are they in the city limits, place of birth, height, weight, sex, birth date, social security number, and if you have one, a unique personal identification number. Not so personal now. Then it wants to know your ethnicity, country of citizenship, and if you are an alien. And you know which kind I'm talking about. It also wants to know if you've been in the military, all of your military information. Have you been convicted of domestic violence? Have you been in a mental institution? I have to kind of wonder if this infringes on the Second Amendment, because I didn't see anywhere in the Second Amendment where you had to, well, not be crazy or anything. Now, this form also facilitates a NICS background check, which is an instant background check done by the FBI that lets the seller know if they can or can't sell the firearm to this particular individual. However, nowhere in this 7-page form is there any financial information, but it does have nothing but personal information, very personal information. So what do they want? Now, they got away with 13,000 plus of these. So I think what they're looking for is the purchase, particularly AK-47s and AR-15s and any large magazine rifles. I think they want to know who has those and how many are out there, because there is going to come a time when they're going to try to confiscate your guns. And they will. And being that they have over 13,000 of these 4473s with the people's names, addresses, and what they purchased, it's not going to be very difficult for them to do that, especially with all the digital technology. Anyways, that's what I believe they're after. Now, this is part of a much bigger picture, and there's too much info to put into this particular video, so that'll be on a separate video coming up very soon. Anyways, I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts about what you think is behind all this. And thank you so much for tuning in. This is Terry Windsor signing out.